£2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
Or you're putting into a private pension.
I am, and you're coming for it.
Wait, I'm not coming for it. That's a ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
You're going to put my private pension, whatever's left of it, maybe in the future.
Rachel Reeves has hired that man to tax you into oblivion.
Energy security, for good jobs, for lower bills, and indeed to tackle the climate crisis.
Guys, your energy bills have gone up again under Labour.
Can we renegotiate the Good Friday Agreement to get the ECHR out of it? Yes.
Well, would it be easy for Britain to just leave the ECHR? Plus,
France has now agreed that they will now start to intervene in French waters in order to prevent small boats.
Sir Keir Starmer's small boats deal with the French is about to collapse. And
in my role, you're potentially making life or death decisions every day.
Civil servants are paid a bonus to approve asylum claims. Also, is the BBC gaslighting us all again? I'll reveal what I'm on about very shortly. Plus,
but two, when they get here, it does seem, and I think this is why a lot of Labour voters as well are now sitting there going, there's something wrong here. It seems, welcome, come on in. This is the narrative we're being fed. Here's the hotel.
Well, that was Ryland Clark there, coming out a little bit reform, dare I say. Anyways, divided viewers with that immigration common sense, I would have said. Also, look, this is a fast-paced, moving story, this. Many people have been killed and injured in a horrific school shooting. Some information that's just coming through to us here is that the FBI are analysing whether or not this is a terror offence. The other detail for you is that it's been reported that the shooter in question was a transgender anti-Donald Trump individual. There's going to be a lot more information coming out on this, and we'll bring it all to you as we get it here. On my panel tonight, we are joined by the political editor for the Daily Express, Sam Lister. We have got political commentator Chris Worrell, and we've got journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Oh, and this journalist made a complete wally of himself.
Egotistical and bombastic do you think you are?
You make your own mind up, you can say whatever you like, and do you know what? I couldn't care less.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Watch out, Labour's tax monster is coming for you. Next.
Patrick, thank you. The top story is a shooting that killed 2 children aged 8 and 10 is being investigated by the FBI as an act of terrorism. They also say it's a hate crime against Catholics. The incident happened during a Minneapolis Catholic school mass earlier today. It's the 5th US school shooting of 2025. The gunman has been named as 23-year-old Robin Westman. He was armed with a rifle, shotgun and pistol and shot through the church windows, police say, adding that he then turned a gun on himself. Of the 17 others injured, 14 are children, 2 in a critical condition. US President Donald Trump has written on Truth Social saying the White House will continue to monitor this terrible situation. Elsewhere, Nigel Farage has clarified Reform UK's stance on deportation, saying the party's focus will be on young men arriving illegally. The Reform UK leader says there's slight confusion over his earlier comments, insisting deporting children is far more complex and families are not top of the list. But pressed on whether women would be removed, he confirmed that single women would be detained and deported, while cases involving mothers and children would be handled differently.
If a single woman, etc., comes to Britain, they will be detained and deported. If a woman comes with children, we'll work out the best thing to do. But the big message here is that the vast majority of those that come are young males.
An Ethiopian national seeking asylum in the UK has appeared in court today for the second day of trial. He told the court, "I am not a wild animal." Hadush Kabatu is charged with 3 counts of sexual violence, harassment and inciting a girl to engage in sexual activity. He was living in the Bell Hotel in Epping at the time of the alleged crimes. Hadush told Colchester Magistrates Court, "I'm a Christian and I'm also giving testimony on the Holy Bible." The alleged incident involving Kabatu sparked protests and counter-protests outside the hotel in Essex after similar protests were held outside hotels across the country, housing asylum seekers. Elsewhere, British Transport Police have confirmed that Tommy Robinson will not be charged over an alleged assault at St Pancras railway station last month after the CPS concluded there was not a realistic prospect of conviction. The 42-year-old was arrested at Luton Airport on the 4th of August in connection with the incident, which took place at the end of July. British Transport Police said the alleged victim didn't wish to provide a statement to the investigation. And elsewhere today, energy bills will rise by more than expected this autumn. Ofgem has increased the energy price cap by 2% from October, taking the typical annual bill to £1,755, so around £35 more than now. Ministers admit it'll worry families, blaming wholesale gas prices, which are still far higher than before Russia's war in Ukraine. Labour says its plan will protect consumers with more support for households and investment in clean power, while accusing the Conservatives of leaving Britain exposed. And those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in an hour.
Yes, we're starting tonight's show with some breaking news, I'm afraid. It's tragic news, actually, of a mass shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. It's a shooting that has killed 2 children, aged 8 and 10. And what we can now reveal is that it is being investigated as terrorism. That's according to the FBI. They also say that it may well be a hate crime against Catholics. The gunman has been named as Robin Westman. However, that is not his real name. It's been reported that he identified as a transgender woman whose mother worked at the school where 2 children were slaughtered. He was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, a pistol. And what you're seeing on your screens now is some still images. We are choosing at this stage to not play you the video that we've got, and understandably so, given that this is obviously a very sensitive situation. However, he has posted a video with vast amounts of ammunition. And on that ammunition is written various different things. The one you're looking at there is partly written in what we believe to be Russian. However, there's also ones you will be able to see in the background there, "Where is your God?" And there was another one that said, "F Donald Trump," as well. There are also reports coming out now that he has done a video of a manifesto. He has turned the gun on himself, by the way, so he's no longer alive. This is a press conference now in Minneapolis.
Yeah, so the question was, where do we start to make sure that this doesn't happen again? I don't have an answer for that at this time.
Chief, I understand from the federals that there is an idea that this might be investigated, maybe it already is, I'm not sure of my information, as a hate crime against Catholics. I'm asking you, perhaps, Archbishop, is this a line of investigation that you have open to comment on that?
So the question is this an investigation into a hate crime against Catholics? We don't have a motive at this time. Obviously, we're open to any possibilities at all, but we don't have a motive or anything to suggest that.
Do you know if there is any more safety, any more protective measures that are implemented at other Catholic schools throughout the Twin Cities or churches? I'm sure there are masses going around right now this afternoon.
Yeah.
It's just a week out from, or a few days before the start of school.
Yeah. So the question is the concern for other churches, other schools around the metro. Unfortunately, this is something that our community has been dealing with for some time. You know, the threat of active shooters, the threat of hate crimes at houses of worship, unfortunately, is not something new here. And of course, our precinct inspectors, our crime prevention specialists are available to work with both houses of worship, churches, and schools that do reach out to assist in any additional security measures or advice that we can offer them.
About that to follow up. Are you aware if this is the first time that actually a Catholic mass has been targeted and there have been victims inside a Catholic church during mass? In the Twin Cities, not in the world.
In the Twin Cities?
I'm unaware of any other.
Yeah, from the Archbishop. The question was, is this the first time that there's been attack of Catholics at Mass in the Twin Cities area? The Archbishop is unaware of any other attack.
Saying that this is being investigated as domestic terrorism. Are you also tracking this?
The question was, is it being investigated by the FBI?
The FBI director saying this is domestic terrorism. Is that what you're tracking?
Well, the FBI is here with us and has been a part of this entire investigation, as well as the ATF, other law enforcement. It's being led right now by the Minneapolis Police Department, and we are looking at, obviously, any possibilities from wherever the evidence will lead us from what we recover. Absolutely.
Thank you all again so much for your time today, for your support. Thank you. Yes, I think there's probably two names you would like.
That it was the latest from the scene there of that devastating school shooting. I just want to refresh some of the details for you because this is emerging in real time, really. The school shooter was formerly known as Robert Westman and then petitioned to change his name to Robin, seemingly with the consent of his parents. His mother, by the way, is believed to have been a teacher at that Catholic school. Changed his name back in 2019, identified as a woman. There is a petition in the court there that said that this individual identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification. It's emerged that his mother was an employee at the school before she retired in 2021. So to make that clear, it appears that his mother has retired but was working at that school until 2021. Online now, there are videos emerging of the shooter posting videos with loads and loads and loads of ammunition. On that ammunition is written things about President Trump, negative things. It's written things about for the children, etc. And some of it in Russian. It's also just quite interesting to have a little look at the local area as well, because in Minneapolis, they have apparently been very, very, very pro the kind of trans-identifying movement in the past. You know, when our children tell us whose they are, it's our jobs as grown-ups to believe them. That is a quote from the Minnesota Lieutenant Governor. They are suing Trump for gender-affirming care. That's the Minnesota Attorney General there. So it's kind of in that climate, really, that this situation takes place. You did hear there from one of the, I believe it was the local police chief, I didn't catch their name right at the start of that press conference there, saying, look, that at the moment, whilst the FBI are apparently investigating it as a potential terrorism offence, as a potential anti-Catholic attack, because it took place at a Catholic school, there is as yet no clear motive. However, one thing I will say is that it appears online that there is a, you would so-called manifesto, I suppose, whatever you'd want to call it, that has been published. So this information is coming through to us right now, so we will give you more information as we get it. But sadly, there have been 2 children who've been shot dead. I think that there were 17 others injured, 14 of whom are children. 2 are in a critical condition. The gunman turned the gun on himself. We will bring you the latest from Minneapolis as we get it. But I'm just going to carry on now with the show as planned. Like I said, we'll give you the latest if we get any more breaking lines from there. But closer to home, it seems that Labour isn't just going to bankrupt Britain. They are about to bankrupt you as well. It's been revealed that this man...
Or you're putting into a private pension.
I am, and you're coming for it.
Wait, I'm not coming for it. That's a ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
You're going to put my private pension, whatever's left of it, maybe in the future. If I want to give that to my children, you're going to put that in, roll that into inheritance tax.
Let me leave that.
Absolute madness.
If I'm honest, I think you're talking nonsense. And the reason for that, it's good to have, honesty, a good, robust debate. But if you want to have properly funded public services, we put a lot of pension tax relief to make sure people have strong incentives to save for their retirement.
That is Torsten Bell. He's been promoted to help Rachel Reeves write her autumn budget. Now, you might never have heard of Mr Bell, but let me tell you a little bit about him. He's never really had a proper job in his life, as far as I can tell. After studying PPE at Oxford, he worked a bit for the civil service, then he worked as head of policy for Ed Miliband, which means that this horrific omnishambles was reportedly his idea. Yes, the famous Ed Stone, as well as Mr Miliband's disastrous election campaign. And what has happened after this embarrassing string of failures? Well, he was apparently parachuted in to the Swansea West seat. He had no connection to the local area, and he was panned by local Labour Party members. But this is why you need to worry about this left-wing tax extremist. Here are the list of tax hikes that Torsten Bell has proposed. Now, get ready, because this might take a while. Cap tax-free ISAs at £100,000, although he then reportedly deleted those posts. Make everyone pay inheritance tax by scrapping the nil rate band. Significantly raise council tax for band E, F, G and H properties, in line with the SNP's 2017 hike. Remove primary residence relief and tax capital gains on primary residence sales at a flat rate of 28%. The Treasury has already been briefing that out. Scrap the lifetime ISA altogether. Devolve income tax-raising powers to local authorities. A massive tax hike as well. Raise capital gains tax on shares to 37% and real estate to 53%. Charge capital gains tax on debt and when moving out of the UK. Slashing VAT registration threshold to £30,000. Scrap business and agricultural property reliefs. Hike basic rate of dividend tax from 8.75% to 20%. Hike income tax by 1p. Hike taxes on second homes. Charge national insurance on rental income. Hike national insurance for higher self-employed incomes by 300%. Cut the £270,000 cap on tax-free pensions to just £40,000. Introduce pay per mile road duty for electric vehicles. Scrap the 5p cut in fuel duty. Increase fuel duty by 2% every year. Hike vehicle excise duty for heavier cars and scrap entrepreneurs' relief. Yeah. I don't know if I've missed anything there, but it's quite a lot, isn't it? He posted this picture yesterday. He's probably standing there looking at how every single blade of grass can pay tax, or how he can tax you for enjoying the view or breathing that lovely countryside air. Has this guy ever run a business? Has he ever laid awake at night worrying about how to pay his staff? Has he ever got his hands dirty doing a manual job? Has he ever actually lived in the real world? Has he ever taken any personal financial risk? Could the answer be no to all of those questions? I suspect so. This may be why he fits in so well with the rest of the Labour Party. We all know Rachel Reeves's claims that she started out with this.
£22 billion black hole. A £22 billion black hole of £22 billion.
Right, well, now it's 50 billion quid, and the bloke that she's turned to seems to want you to fill it by taxing you until the pips squeak. You know, it's at times like these that I really resent the fact that it's us, hard-working taxpayers, who pay people like Torsten Bell's wages. Thoughts of my panel. Political commentator Chris Worrell is with us, got the Daily Express's political editor Sam Lister and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Right, OK, sorry, we are a little bit behind the eight ball here because obviously we had that breaking news out of the US. But Sam, I'll start with you. How dangerous is Torsten Bell?
Oh, let's be clear, this is an absolute disaster for anybody who has ever done the right thing. Anybody who's got up early, anybody who's put away a little bit of savings, anybody who's bought their own home, put their money into pensions, all those things that you're taught to do when you're young to build a good life for yourself. He's coming after your money. He punishes people who have worked hard and done the right thing. Now, that list you read out there, Patrick, it was scrap, 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 hike, 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 wasn't it? It's not a tax that he has not thought of raising or a relief that he has not thought of scrapping. And if I can just, I mean, obviously you went through the list there, but if I can just take the example for pensions, he wants to scrap the triple lock, which means that your state pension payment would be effectively frozen at a lower level. But he also wants to scrap the amount you can get, the lump sum you get tax-free when you take out a private pension. And he also wants to scrap the relief you get on, to lower the relief you get when you pay into a pension. So basically, if you take a state pension, which obviously most people will do, he's coming after that. And if you put into a private pension, he's coming after that too. There is nothing about this man that incentivises people to do the right thing.
Yes. Now, Chris, I'm pained to say you used to introduce you as a Labour bod, but now you've had some kind of epiphany and you've joined the Tories. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Right, fine. Was it because of people like Torsten Bell?
Well, pretty much, yeah. I mean, Torsten the tax monster sort of epitomises the sort of Corbyn-like direction the government's gone in. You know, this guy said he couldn't live on 70 quid a week because he had a mortgage. He's sitting there reeling out tax raises on, you know, it'd make the middle class extinct putting those taxes on primary residences, which I think, you know, Rachel Reeves has already said that they're going to need to do. So it's just the economic incompetence that really astounds me. And the guy, like you said, he's never had a proper job. He was parachuted into Swansea. You know, he's got the authenticity of a flat pack from Islington. Like, there's no relevance here other than just being one of Miliband's, you know, Edgestone architects. But it's just beggars belief that the direction they're going in is it's gone too left-wing. And I think those tax, you know, suggestions he's made just kind of sums it up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's it. That's the end. That's the end of this Labour government, isn't it? If only that's
the thing is, you're reading that list out as if there's people sitting there thinking that every single one of those proposals, which we don't know have been made legitimately or are serious about, as if they're all going to come into the October budget.
That's what he's previously said he wants.
That's what he's previously said he wants. But this is just hysterical catastrophising, ridiculous. You know, nothing. But he's not God within the government. He's been brought in to make suggestions, so he can make suggestions. We haven't seen the October budget yet, and as I said,
God.
Well, the thing is, I've heard of rats deserting the sinking ship, but you've joined the sinking ship. I think that's
the polls are going that way, Nina.
That's hilarious.
Turning the tide.
Oh, please, come on.
I mean, let's not talk about polls.
I'm sorry,
you're deluded right now. The polls. I think they're below Rishi Sunak.
I don't vote Labour. By the way, so
there's a point made then.
So there's a point, man. I'm going to say. So you've jumped onto the sinking ship, and the Tories really are the reason that we are here and having all these horrendous financial discussions is because of 14 years of Tory misrule.
Let's look at that. Let's look at that, because clearly the Labour Party, I wonder if this is something that's going to come back to bite them a little bit, made a huge deal out of Liz Truss. Are things worse now?
Oh, clearly they are. And I think I get that what Nina says, that this list is not a definitive list of exactly what Torsten Bell is going to do, but it's a clear sign of his political instincts, and his instincts are wrong on everything. And so are Keir Starmer's, and so are Rachel Reeves. We're in a bad position, and if Rachel Reeves is turning to Torsten Bell for help when she's in a dire situation, we're in a very, very bad place. We saw what they did the first time around. They came after farmers, they came after older people, they went after the disabled. Their instincts are wrong on everything. So I think we really do have reason to be fearful about this budget.
OK. Look, sorry about this, but we're going to have to... We'll knock this segment on the head now. We'll obviously have a bit longer at 10 p.m, but we were overtaken by events, devastating events, actually, out of America, which I'll give you an update on the other side of this break. But I want to talk to you as well about a couple of other bits and bobs that I've got coming up, because, the only maybe kind of sticking point for Nigel Farage's big, bold anti-immigration plans yesterday was the ECHR. So I just want to have that discussion with you. How easy would it be for us to leave? What would the consequences be? But before all of that, it's the Great British Giveaway. It's the final week to see how you could live the next year, mortgage or rent-free, with an additional £5,000. Don't tell Torsten. Torsten will be all over this, all right? If you don't make any of those payments, then definitely don't tell Torsten, because he'll take your assets. Anyway, £15,000 in tax-free cash could all be yours. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
There's just 2 days left to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. Hurry, lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, well, still to come. Are we being gaslit by the BBC? I'll explain what I mean very shortly on that. But next...
Can we renegotiate the Good Friday Agreement to get the ECHR out of it? Yes.
OK, well, this is the sticking point for Nigel, I think, isn't it? Is it easy to leave the ECHR? Would there be negative consequences? Stay tuned. We've got Matt Goodwin going head-to-head on this in just a second. Stay tuned.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. I feel like this is the big issue, really, of the day. Is it easy for Britain to leave the ECHR? It's time for the head-to-head. Well, Nigel Farage has said that it is time for Britain to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. He claims it's the only way to make his big deportation pledge happen. 600,000 people he wants to get rid of in the first term. However, the ECHR has been enshrined in British law for decades. Crucially as well, it underpins the Good Friday Agreement, the peace deal that brought an end to the Troubles in Northern Ireland. Well, Nigel Farage says that under a reform government, he'd look to renegotiate that Good Friday Agreement as part of his plan to stop the boats.
Can we renegotiate the Good Friday Agreement to get the ECHR out of it? Yes. Is that something that can happen very, very quickly? No, it'll take longer. It'll take longer.
OK, so how easy is it for us to leave the ECHR? Very pleased to be joined now by the former editor for the Sunday Mirror, Paul Connew, and GB News' very own Matt Goodwin. Chaps, thank you very much. Matt, I'll start with you. Is it easy to leave the ECHR?
Yeah, sure. We could leave the European Convention on Human Rights if we wanted to, Patrick. We could tell the Council of Europe that we're off, and in 6 months we're off. Now, much of the blob and the establishment and so on will be up in arms and say, well, we've become like Belarus or we've become like Russia, which is what Keir Starmer has said today, but actually we'll become like Canada or Australia or America or much of the Anglosphere and the Commonwealth. Lots of nations not in the ECHR all have human rights protections, and we go on as a self-governing independent nation.
Paul, your views?
Well, I don't think we should leave the ECHR, but anyway, but Nigel Farage was right, because it will take time. So long, in fact, that there's virtually no chance, most lawyers would agree, and politicians that I know would actually agree, it wouldn't happen by the time of the next general election, even if the current government went full term, let alone if the election happened before the full term. And I think Nigel Farage is probably facing reality privately on this. It's a good soundbite. It's a good campaign slogan for reform, but in reality, it doesn't fit with reality.
OK,
Sorry,
well, go on, Matt, yeah.
Just to come in, there are a couple of obstacles. Firstly, the state is going to go to war with any reform government. Civil servants aren't going to play ball. Activist lawyers are going to try and get in the way. And in particular, the House of Lords will try and basically block everything and anything that a reform government does. That's just a reality that we had a trailer of that with Brexit. But there are things that Nigel Farage, were he to become Prime Minister, he could do. He's going to have a very big majority in the House of Commons. He could potentially, if he wanted to, pack the Lords early on, within the first couple of weeks of coming into power. He could make it very clear that this is in the manifesto. It's got a public mandate. Now, I agree, some key pieces of reform legislation may come in the second half of a reform government as this constitutional rewiring takes place. But if we have a democratically elected government with a majority saying we are leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, then we are leaving the ECHR. And activist lawyers might possibly be able to delay it as we run through those court cases, but they won't be able to stop that decision that's been taken by the British people. And it is a decision, lastly, Patrick, that is needed, because being in the ECHR, everybody needs to understand this. This is why we cannot deport foreign criminals. This is why we cannot control our borders. This is why UK laws are relegated behind international courts and conventions. This country has a long tradition of rights, going back centuries. This country was not born in 1997, as left-wing progressives like us to think.
Paul, specifically, this issue on the Good Friday Agreement then, does that bother you?
It bothers me a great deal, and although some lawyers have different opinions on this, the majority of lawyers I speak to believe it is an integral part of the Good Friday Agreement, and the complications, on the Good Friday Agreement would be immense. Bear in mind, it doesn't just affect Northern Ireland; it affects the Irish Republic and trade between the two of them, as well as with Europe. One of the ironies of this, of course, is that Brexit has, in a sense, made it more difficult to actually control our borders and to actually deport people who come illegally. It's ironic that Nigel Farage and I have a little joke when sometimes do his programme, is that I'm a Remainer who believes that Brexit was a disaster, but I also predicted it would happen based on my own research in red wall areas. But Nigel thought they would lose narrowly and there'd be a second referendum.
I just want to come in, because this is a really important point. The Good Friday Agreement argument is basically Project Fear 2.0. There is nothing in the Good Friday Agreement that says we have to remain in the ECHR. There are some provisions within the ECHR that are used to underpin the Good Friday Agreement, which we could deal with through domestic UK legislation. Both the Centre of Policy Studies have pointed this out and Policy Exchange have pointed this out. This is Project Fear 2.0, the same people who said we'd have World War III if we left the European Union, we'd have a massive economic recession, yada, yada, yada. I'm afraid it doesn't stack up.
On that, though, Matt. Legal opinion differs on that point, but
the same lawyers that were telling us that if we left the European Union, we'd be in.
By pulling out.
No, you would damage our sorry. This is just really important. The British people have had enough. They've had enough of illegal migration. They've had enough of this mass, uncontrolled chaos, and they've had enough of UK laws being subordinated behind international courts and lawyers in Brussels and Strasbourg. It's game over. The fact that even Labour voices today, like Jack Straw, are coming out saying, we got to leave the ECHR, like Graham Stringer saying, we got to leave the ECHR. This debate now is going fully mainstream because the British people have had enough of the architecture that is stopping us from controlling our borders.
Guys, thank you so much.
There's an argument for amending the ECHR, but not, in my view, for leaving it. Along with Nigel Farage also wants to leave the Refugee Council. Both the ECHR and the Refugee Council were things that Britain And with Winston Churchill, who played a huge part in
I get it, yeah. Winston Churchill, the argument that Winston Churchill will be turning in his grave. All right, both of you, thank you very much. There's former editor of the Sunday Mirror there, Paul Connew, GB News presenter Matt Goodwin. Look, that debate's going to rage. I hope we're giving you some info on that. Coming up, the Home Office is now paying staff bonuses to rush through asylum claims. Civil servants are being offered up to £350 a month for approving, or very rarely, I imagine, rejecting more cases. Anyway, next, though, are we being gaslit by the BBC? I'll reveal what I mean in just a sec. Stay tuned.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Northern parts of Europe are set to see widespread heavy showers. This could lead to some severe thunderstorms at times. But across Spain, Portugal, the Azores, the sunshine is here to stay, but it's really across parts of France, Germany, as we head towards Switzerland and Austria. Northern parts of Italy, we could see these quite intense showers, so thunderstorms, frequent lightning and also some large hail. But elsewhere across the Adriatic coastline, across parts of Greece, the sunshine once again here to stay, along with the warm temperatures.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, it should be a mostly dry and bright start across eastern areas, but eventually turning more and more unsettled from the west and temperatures returning to average for all. And it's all due to low pressure situated to the northwest of the country, dragging in frontal systems, so more cloud, some outbreaks of rain, and this mostly across western areas where it will eventually turn more unsettled, clouds starting to spill into Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland and eventually parts of England and Wales. But across central areas of England, parts of the southeast, any showers easing away, and it should be mostly dry, clear and cool night, a lot fresher than recent nights, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. So a cloudy, showery start across western areas, and eventually we'll see more of this cloud spill its way eastwards, particularly across Scotland. Some showers moving through into western coast. These may start to turn heavy as we head our way through the morning, possibly even thundery, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland. A very cloudy start, if not longer, persistent outbreaks of rain across western areas, and similar across Wales, parts of Devon and Cornwall, some showers moving through here. But across the Midlands, central parts of England, parts of the southeast, dry and bright, but once again we'll eventually see that cloud start to spill its way in from the west. Longer spells of more persistent rain starting to push into Northern Ireland, and it will start to turn quite gusty, particularly around coastal areas, or if you catch any heavy, possibly thundery downpours, we could see some quite strong gusts associated with this. And it is going to feel like a much cooler day, highs reaching around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius across the southeast. To finish off the week, I'm afraid it is remaining unsettled. Further showers, particularly across Scotland, and also some longer spells of rain across parts of the south and southeast. This too turning heavy and possibly thundery. Most areas of England and Wales are going to catch a shower or two by the end of the week. And that theme is continuing into the weekend, with temperatures once again remaining around average for the time of year. Bye-bye.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, here on Patrick Christys tonight, I do pride myself on trying to give you the unvarnished truth, unlike the BBC, who is accused of misleading the public in the name of so-called wokeness. The corporation defended calling a transgender killer a woman after Joanna Rowland Stewart, obviously not his real name, stabbed his husband to death with a samurai sword. Next, In Essex, Hadush Kabatu is on trial, accused of propositioning two 14-year-old girls, telling them that he wanted to have a baby with each of them. He's pleaded not guilty, by the way, to all of this. Well, surprise, surprise, they appear to have left the asylum seeker part out of their headline there. Again, he denies the charges. And a BBC tweet featured a quite elderly white man as the face of, quotes, disruptive behaviour on public transport. I'm joined now by former BBC presenter Alex Dyke. Alex, thank you very, very much. Is the BBC trying to gaslight us?
Well, it looks that way, Patrick. It certainly looks that way. And that story about the transgender murderer, the BBC had an even more weird headline on the 25th of July this year. I've written it down here. I've taken some notes. Wife said I had no choice after killing, jury told. That's the headline. The first line, Patrick, is a woman who allegedly killed her husband. It's not until you're halfway down the story that the word transgender is used. So they have cleaned it up a little bit, but goodness only knows what they're up to on that and the other two stories you've mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear the conversations that are going around the BBC newsroom there. With absolute respect, when you get on, whether it's the London Underground or a bus or whatever else, there is a vanishingly small probability that the person causing disruption on that bus is an elderly man who happens to be white. I mean, what is he doing? Is he playing Queen too loudly? Is he on his mobile phone? I mean, it's not happening, is it? Really, a lot of the time. Why do you think they chose that picture?
I think the BBC, now we've seen a lot of this in America, and remember what happens in America usually takes 3 to 5 years to filter through to Britain. And we've seen that Stephen Colbert has lost his chat show in America because CBS, ABC and NBC have gone really, really woke. They want to be seen, and the BBC are the same, Patrick, they want to be seen as being kind, and they want to be seen as being noble, and they are so nervous. I mean, when you look at that picture that you've got up on your screen now, that guy looks like he could be doing the Times crossword. He doesn't even look like he's playing music, does he? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's something, it could be out of a Harry Enfield sketch that the BBC would have quite happily shown in the 90s or the early noughties, but they wouldn't show now.
Just be honest about it. You know, and look, hey, you know, I can hear some lefties shouting at the screen. This isn't entirely about race, right? I'm not saying that they should have shown a picture of someone who happens to have been non-white necessarily. What I am saying, though, is just show the reality. Someone with a little bit of a mask over their face and a hood up, someone who looks like what I believe might be called, Alex, a roadman, who comes onto the London Underground, looks like they're probably carrying a machete down their trousers and starts blaring out drill rap music. That's the reality of it. That's it. Why not show that? They don't want to do it because they wouldn't want to seem insensitive to a particular community.
No, and I think the Transport for London, you could chuck this at the BBC, you could chuck it at Transport for London, you could chuck it at the Labour Party. They are ageist. Ageism seems to be the only thing that big corporations can get away with now in all of this woke madness.
Yeah, and it's time and time and time again with the BBC. It's things like, you know, you're having to read an article to dig out the detail that the individual, I'm not referring directly to the case in this latest one here, because there are allegations there which he's denied, but just generally speaking historically, it's time and time again. You really have to dig in to find out that the person arrived in Britain a few days ago, or maybe also happened to have a Pakistani passport, or all of these different aspects that are relevant to the case. And the BBC, it would appear for me, tries to hide it. However, Alex, I will say this, do they have quite a difficult job, the BP? You know, they are supposed to be impartial, aren't they? Do they give it their best crack and we're being quite unfair here?
Well, I think the BBC are their own worst enemies, Patrick. They have got a very, very tough job on their hands. And if you think about all the TV channels they've got and radio channels and the you know, what's on the web and what's on podcasts and all of that. But the BBC needs the public to love them because they want the public to be happy to pay the license fee. And that headline about that crazy headline about the man who allegedly is a sex offender, man told girls he wanted to have a baby, court hears. Now, if I hear about a man who tells a girl he wants a baby, I think, oh, that's cute, that's nice. It didn't say anything about them being 14-year-old girls and the guy being an asylum seeker.
Well, quite. I mean, I would love to see how on earth the BBC would report a story that involved a trans-Sudanese man causing a nuisance on the London Underground. I mean, I don't know what we'd get. They'd probably just swerve it entirely. But look, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. It's Alex Dyke there, former BBC presenter. Look, I will say this. We reached out to the BBC about all three of those stories, and we are awaiting a response. Coming up, Sir Keir Starmer's migrant deal with the French looks like it's in tatters, but next...
In my role, you're potentially making life or death decisions every day.
The problem itself might be much closer to home. Why? The Home Office appears to be offering bonuses for civil servants to speed through asylum applications. We all know what that means, don't we?
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us? And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Here is another bonkers story for you. The Home Office are paying civil servants an extra 75 quid a pop for every asylum case that's processed. That's above their 12 claims a month target. Now, they say this is a desperate attempt to decrease the backlog. Well, it means that civil servants can earn up to 350 quid extra a month for rushing through the approval or rejection of cases. Which way do you think it's going to go? There are fears that the bonus could increase the number of poor asylum decisions, as civil servants basically feel inclined to hurry through. I mean, I would be inclined to suggest that we're going to see a big rush on this when Christmas approaches and they want a little bonus. David Haig joins us now, a human rights lawyer. Thank you very, very much. What do you make of the idea now that they are being financially incentivised to rush through asylum claims?
Good evening, Patrick. I mean, simply, it's a terrible idea. They're essentially getting short-term gain for a long-term pain. And, I think it's... And the worrying thing here, which is why I think it's very dangerous, is that Keir Starmer, he's a human rights lawyer. He will know what speeding up and putting pressure to do things like asylum claims quickly means, because he's been there. So he will know what that will mean. It will mean bad decisions. Bad decisions will mean there'll be more appeals. More appeals will be more people stuck in the system, more money for the taxpayer, and injustices as well. There'll be asylum seekers that do and should need our support that will not get it. So it's
won't there only really be appeals if they reject them? My inclination would be to suggest that they are just going to use this to stamp people through. Avoid appeals, just do it, get you 75 quid.
Well, possibly. I mean, we just don't know. I mean, obviously, the majority of people are probably going through anyway. So I think either way, whether there's more people going through and being approved or more people going through and being put on an asylum appeals list, it's not good either way if those are not genuine cases. That's the thing. And I think, I think it's a common sense approach, speeding things up, which are detailed processes. These really are not things that should be sped up and shouldn't be on the basis of a per case. And this reminds me, when I read this story, it reminded me of back in the Middle East, when you get the police, they're effectively paid per arrest and per conviction. That's a slippery slope to start down, and one that we shouldn't.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe speaks to the psychology of what goes on in the civil service, which is, we've got an asylum seeker backlog. The country needs that backlog to come down. The country needs people, frankly, I would argue, more to be deported than approved. That's a personal view, of course. But and the only way they can get those people to do a bit of extra work is to lob them a few extra quid.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm all for overtime, and I'm all for training more asylum processors, getting better quality people in to do that. That's another thing that could be done, actually training them better, more quality people, putting the resources there, but not just saying, we'll give you an extra £75 if you push each case through, or that's not the way to get this problem solved. It's a terrible idea.
OK, well, look, David, thank you. I know we've been a bit squeezed here. We had that breaking news at the top of the hour, so that's kind of set us a little bit behind the pace this hour. But thank you. David Hay there is a human rights lawyer. I do want to say that the Home Office have been in touch. They say rewards or bonuses for our staff are based on the consistent delivery of high-quality work and professional behaviour, whether in asylum processing or any other area of Home Office work. They added, all asylum decisions are subject to the stringent quality checks, with individual performance targets agreed with managers and reviewed regularly to ensure the high standards expected are consistently met. Now, do you believe that? Seriously? Given some of the ludicrous asylum decisions that we have reported on this very show, I ask you now to enter the psyche of someone whose job it is to approve or disapprove asylum cases at the Home Office. And I'll ask you whether or not, if you dangle 75 quid in front of their face, are they going to stamp it through, or are they more inclined to reject it? I think we all know the answer, but it's being sold to us as a way of reducing the backlog. Coming to an HMO near you, anyone? Anyway, coming up, your energy bills have gone up again under Labour, despite the fact that you were told that they wouldn't be, of course. But next, Sir Keir Starmer's migrant deal with the French could be in tatters. It's a big problem, this, for the Prime Minister. I would also argue it's a very, very big problem for you. Stay tuned.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, it should be a mostly dry and bright start across eastern areas, but eventually turning more and more unsettled from the west and temperatures returning to average for all. And it's all due to low pressure situated to the northwest of the country, dragging in frontal systems, so more cloud, some outbreaks of rain, and this mostly across western areas where it will eventually turn more unsettled, clouds starting to spill into Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland and eventually parts of England and Wales. But across central areas of England, parts of the southeast, any showers easing away, and it should be mostly dry, clear and cool night, a lot fresher than recent nights, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. So a cloudy, showery start across western areas, and eventually we'll see more of this cloud spill its way eastwards, particularly across Scotland. Some showers moving through into western coast. These may start to turn heavy as we head our way through the morning, possibly even thundery, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland. A very cloudy start, if not longer, persistent outbreaks of rain across western areas, and similar across Wales, parts of Devon and Cornwall, some showers moving through here. But across the Midlands, central parts of England, parts of the southeast, dry and bright, but once again we'll eventually see that cloud start to spill its way in from the west. Longer spells of more persistent rain starting to push into Northern Ireland, and it will start to turn quite gusty, particularly around coastal areas, or if you catch any heavy, possibly thundery downpours, we could see some quite strong gusts associated with this. And it is going to feel like a much cooler day, highs reaching around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius across the southeast. To finish off the week, I'm afraid it is remaining unsettled. Further showers, particularly across Scotland, and also some longer spells of rain across parts of the south and southeast. This too turning heavy and possibly thundery. Most areas of England and Wales are going to catch a shower or two by the end of the week. And that theme is continuing into the weekend, with temperatures once again remaining around average for the time of year. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
Sure, you're putting into a private pension.
I am, and you're coming for it.
What? I'm not coming for it. That's a ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
You're going to put my private pension, whatever's left of it, maybe in the future.
There's now a tax fanatic in charge of the budget.
Energy security, for good jobs, for lower bills, and indeed to tackle the climate crisis.
Lies. Your energy bills have gone up again under Labour.
Can we renegotiate the Good Friday Agreement to get the ECHR out of it? Yes.
Well, expect to see a bit of that on some of the front pages. Will it be easy for Britain to just leave the ECHR? Plus,
France has now agreed that they will now start to intervene in French waters in order to prevent small boats.
this is what I'm leading with. Sir Keir Starmer's small boats deal with the French is about to collapse and...
In my role, you're potentially making life or death decisions every day.
I'm afraid the problem's much closer to home, though. Civil servants are being paid a bonus to approve asylum claims. Also...
But two, when they get here, it does seem, and I think this is why a lot of Labour voters as well are now sitting there going, there's something wrong here. It seems, welcome, come on in. This is the narrative we're being fed. Here's the hotel.
Rylan Clark has seen the light, everybody. Yes, this feels like a big moment, this. Rylan Clark has basically decided to finally speak out about illegal immigration. Something's happening out there, isn't there? In much more serious news, though, a shooting has taken place, a mass shooting in America. Now, it sadly killed 2 children aged 8 and 10. There's about 17 others injured. 14 of them are children. A couple of them are in a critical condition. Now, there are some details to this. It's being investigated as potential terrorism by the FBI. Now, the killer is believed to be trans and... Well, I mean, essentially, it's anti-President Trump, trans killer. There's a lot to unpack there. I'll give you more detail in a second. But look at what happened here. So this is the moment, just moments after the shooting, OK? Moments after children have been killed by that person. And the local mayor comes out to defend the trans community seconds later. Look at this.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone.
Literally just killed kids. Just killed kids. On my panel tonight, we have got the political editor for the Daily Express, Sam Lister. We've got political commentator Chris Worrell, and we've got journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. And I'll play you the full clip of this in a sec, but this journalist made himself look like a right wally earlier.
Egotistical and bombastic do you think you are?
You make your own mind up. You can say whatever you like. And do you know what? I couldn't care less.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Sir Keir Starmer's migrant deal is on the brink of collapse. Next.
Good evening. The top stories. A shooting that killed 2 children, aged 8 and 10, is being investigated as domestic terrorism, according to the FBI. They also say it's a hate crime against Catholics. The incident happened during a Minneapolis Catholic school mass earlier today. It's the 5th US school shooting of 2025. The gunman has been named as 23-year-old Robin Westman, a male born as Robert Westman. He was armed with a rifle, shotgun and pistol and shot through the church windows, police say, adding that he then turned a gun on himself. Police say he purchased the guns lawfully. Of the 17 others injured in the incident, 14 are children, 2 are in a critical condition, but they are expected to all survive. A motive for the shooting hasn't yet been established. The US President Donald Trump has written on Truth Social saying the White House will continue to monitor this very terrible situation. Nigel Farage has clarified Reform UK's stance on deportation, saying the party's focus will be on young men arriving illegally. The Reform UK leader said there's slight confusion over his earlier comments, insisting deporting children is far more complex and that families are not top of the list. But pressed on whether women would be removed, he confirmed that single women would be detained and deported, whilst cases involving mothers and children would be handled differently.
If a single woman, etc., comes to Britain, they will be detained and deported. If a woman comes with children, we'll work out the best thing to do. But the big message here is that the vast majority of those that come are young males.
Mr Farage stressed the big message was the majority of small boat arrivals are young males, and under Reform's plans they will not be staying, he said. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch suggested a Conservative government would not pay money to the Taliban to take back Afghan migrants deported from the UK.
We have said that we need to make sure that anyone who comes to this country illegally is sent back to their home country or to a third country for processing. And we will do what we need to, but what we're not going to be doing is rewarding enemies of our country with money which they can then use to fight us later. That would be where my red line is drawn.
Meanwhile, a major political shift in Scotland. The Conservatives have lost their first MSP to Reform UK. Graham Simpson announced his defection alongside Nigel Farage, saying it was an enormous wrench to leave the party he'd joined at 15. But he admitted he'd told the Tories months ago he wouldn't stand for them again and now wants to help Reform offer voters something fresh. And energy bills will rise by more than expected this autumn. Ofgem has increased the energy price cap by 2% from October, taking the typical annual bill to £1,755. That's around £35 more than now. Ministers admit it'll worry families, blaming wholesale gas prices, which are still far higher than before Russia's war in Ukraine. Labour says its plans will protect consumers with more support for households and investment in clean power, whilst accusing the Conservatives of leaving Britain exposed. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Yes, I'm going to start this particular hour with some more on that big breaking news of the tragic story that there's been a shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis, a shooting that has killed 2 children aged 8 and 10. We believe that 17 others at least are injured, 14 of them children, 2 of them at least in a critical condition still. Now, it is being investigated as terrorism, according to the FBI. They also say that this is believed to be a hate crime against Catholics. So I'll just reiterate that. That would essentially, if all of that is proven to be true in the fullness of time, that would be an anti-Catholic hate crime in the United States. But the details of this somehow seem to get even more disturbing. Well, the gunman was named initially as Robin Westman. Now, it's been reported that they actually chose to identify as a transgender woman whose mother used to work at that school where he slaughtered those 2 children. Now, Robin is not his real name. His name is Robert. Robert is their birth name. And he apparently transitioned, or at least said he wanted to identify as a woman in 2019. Apparently had the full support of his parents. And also, judging by the Minnesota and Minneapolis authority figures, looking at people like the mayor and all of those people as well, would have had the full support of the political establishment and elite. Well, what happened was that Robert decided to arm himself with a rifle, a shotgun and a pistol, and then shot through church windows before turning the gun on himself. And just to give you a bit of context there, that individual seems to have shot children whilst they were praying in a church. And there's some writing that you'll be able to see if you're watching us online or on your television. Now, some of it's in Russian, OK, but some of the other stuff there is, where is your God? There are videos that have emerged posted by this gunman online that appear to show him shooting a picture of Jesus Christ. There are also, as well, some writing on some other rounds of ammunition saying F Donald Trump and all of that. Now, all too often, we see, don't we, in light of incidents like this, we see, you know, kind of almost hyper-woke people saying things like, oh, gosh, you know, we can't possibly turn our head. You know, don't look back in anger. Let's light a candle, go on a vigil, do nothing about it, and not address the real problem, all right? Well, what happened in the wake of this absolute atrocity is that the Minneapolis mayor, who's a chap called Jacob Fry, who, by the way, can I just say, in the wake of George Floyd's death, appears to have knelt in front of George Floyd's coffin and wept in full view of the world's press, knowing exactly what he was doing, decided to come out just in the immediate aftermath of children being shot to death and say this.
And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
Right, let's pick that madness apart, OK? So, a place of humanity. Where's the humanity in caving into someone's desired identity, going along with it all, pushing that kind of ideology, and then seemingly as part of that statement there, you know, ignoring the fact that that individual then went on to slaughter children in cold blood, in broad daylight, in what is being described as potentially, anyway, an anti-Catholic terrorist offence in America involving very, very, very young children. You know, at that moment in time there, is that can they not help themselves for a second for just shutting up with this ridiculous virtue signalling? Can they not? You know, read the room, for goodness sake. It's pathetic. And again, it will be used as another excuse to just not address what is a potential problem, really, which are some potentials when it comes to maybe psychological issues that can go on amongst certain people who might have so-called gender dysphoria, etc. And, you know, that's where we are there. But it's just an unbelievable amount of shocking clips. We're going to give you more details on this later on, but it is a devastating incident that's taken place there in America. We're going to carry on with the show as was originally planned now, though, and address matters that are, I suppose, affecting us more directly here in Britain anyway. Sir Keir Starmer's migrant deal with the French could be in tatters. He is relying on the French doing everything.
France has now agreed that they will now start to intervene in French waters in order to prevent small boats. That hasn't happened yet, but the previous government spent 6 years trying to persuade them. They have now agreed as a result of the pressure that we've been putting on, the discussions that we have had, and we need that to start.
Well, today it emerged that the French might not be able to make the necessary legal changes to intercept those boats in the water because their government is possibly about to collapse. Sir Keir Starmer is also relying on the French playing ball and accepting illegal migrants back under this so-called one-in, one-out scheme.
For the very first time, migrants arriving via small boat will be detained and returned to France in short order. In exchange for every return, a different individual will be allowed to come here via a safe route, controlled and legal, subject to strict security checks, and only open to those who have not tried to enter the UK illegally.
Well, I think something has gone badly wrong behind the scenes. Look at this. This is from the government's website. The deal began on August the 6th. It clearly says that the UK will make referrals to France within 3 days. And the French authorities will be expected to respond within 14 days. That time frame is now up. Where are the return flights to France? The government has changed its rhetoric. Supposedly, it's now going to happen in the coming weeks.
First detentions we want to take place in a matter of days, and then we will be referring those cases immediately to France. We are ready to resist any legal challenge that comes forward as well, but we do want to see returns taking place in a matter of weeks, but we will need to work those processes through.
So they will be taking place in August?
So, again, we need to work those processes through, but we want to see the returns themselves take place as swiftly as possible.
You can't
bear in mind, people will be detained until they are returned. So
Yeah, couldn't say. Couldn't say. There has obviously been a problem going on behind the scenes. We actually put all of this to the Home Office. We said, look, hang on a minute, what's changed? Why haven't we had any flights yet? They won't comment on operational matters. Sir Keir Starmer is also relying on the Germans to disrupt the transportation of small boats to Calais. So that's out of our control as well. That's up to the Germans. And Sir Keir Starmer's Attorney General has said he will never leave the ECHR.
The new United Kingdom government will never withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights.
So, Sir Keir Starmer is also relying on foreign judges in foreign courts to say that we can or cannot deport anyone, which is interesting, isn't it? Compare that to Nigel Farage's plans.
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route.
Forget the French, forget the Germans, forget the ECHR, and a random judge from Bosnia and Herzegovina telling us that we can't deport a child rapist. He wants Britain's borders to be defended and protected by Britain and Britain alone. He wants out of international courts, out of international treaties. We decide who we deport, we decide where we send them and when. The only people we'd have to rely on to protect our borders would be us. Now, the only sticking point might have been whether or not the Taliban would take a returns deal. Well, they've basically already agreed, haven't they? And even the Rwandans have piped up again, saying that they'd be willing to do a deal with Mr Farage. And today it's emerged that under this Labour government, civil servants are being paid £75 extra per asylum application they complete. Now, I am concerned that this may lead to more people just being waved through. Now, look, just take a look at this letter signed by Sir Keir Starmer in 2020. In it, he says he wants to close immigration detention centres, liberalise family reunion laws, let asylum seekers work and give foreigners the vote. And it turns out he loves foreigners so much that he's willing to outsource our border protection to the Germans, the French and a load of foreign judges. The public have a clear choice now, don't they? You have a choice. Rely on other countries to protect our borders or do it ourselves. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We have got Associate Editor for the Daily Express, Sam Lister, political commentator Chris Worrell, and broadcaster and journalist Nina Mishkov. Sam, is Keir Starmer in a bit of trouble over this French deal now on two fronts? The French not having to stop the boats and also whether or not they're actually going to take anyone back?
I mean, I think the problem is, Patrick, it kind of doesn't really matter if the French government collapses and the deal collapses on the back of it as well, because it was never really going to work, was it? I mean, 50 people, it's neither here nor there. We've had 28,000 already this year, 50% more than we had by the same point last year. 50 people here or there going back to France in return for us taking 50 people back is not a deterrent, is it? And we know that. So I think that side of it is almost irrelevant. We know that Starmer, he jettisoned Rwanda. Rwanda was a deterrent. He does not have a deterrent option. And yeah, so I think it's almost irrelevant if France reneges on that deal.
Is there a key difference there, Chris, which is essentially that, yeah, reform, whether people like their policy or not, it is all about us being in control of our own borders and doing it our way, whereas Sir Keir Starmer seems to want the French, the Germans and the ECHR to be in charge of it?
I mean, what Keir Starmer's done is he's ham-fisted himself. We're at the behest with the French, and we've always been like that. And if we take it back to Brexit, I mean, people are fed up of the situation now. There's been... People talk about 14 years of the Conservative government. What's happened in the last year has been utter chaos, beyond anyone's wildest imagination. And there's a number of Labour voters leaving in their streams. But to the point is the Conservative Party, during Brexit, put forward a repatriation agreement, which under Matthew Pennycook, who said, oh, under the ECHR, we're going to end up like Belarus or Russia. This guy said he'd rather vote for no deal is better than a bad deal. But we've left with no deportation agreement. So the Labour and the Lib Dems, so I know you said you didn't vote for Labour, maybe voted for the Lib Dems, I don't know, are all responsible for this. But we've got to see what is the way of going forward. Reforms put forward a British Bill of Rights. We've had Rajiv Shah, who's an expert lawyer in the space, says it's going to be sort of repurposing a lot of the same words as the ECHR, and it's going to have a lot of issues with that. You need judicial implementation. I think Katie Lamb and Robert Jenrick are the only real ones who've been putting stuff forward in this space. But we do have to leave the ECHR, and we've seen Jack Straw earlier, as Matt Goodwin mentions. It's the only way forward.
OK, yeah, Nina, I mean, there is a divide, isn't there? Keir Starmer being willing to rely on other countries and other governments to protect our borders, whereas Nigel Farage wants to take all of that into our own hands.
He's not relying on other countries. He is trying to work with other countries to get them to help us. Because, quite frankly, Brexit stopped any kind of cooperation we had. As I've said before on this sofa, in 2019, the number of people crossing the Channel on boats was just under 1,900. After Brexit, after Boris screwed up our relationship completely with France, there was no cooperation. So you cannot send people...
Is that not in any way the French's fault? Like, do you not look at them and you think, hang on a minute, you'd be speaking German if it wasn't for us. Maybe you could have done
listen. The French and the British have always been like that with each other. But if, in a divorce... Have you ever broken up in a relationship? Which I assume...
Remarkably, over the period of my life, some women have dared to leave me.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Now, how was your relationship after that? Is it very... did you do everything in your power to smooth the path of the life of the person who has left you? No, you do not. So there is that angst. Let's not pretend that the French, and most of Europe were pissed off that we left. So you cannot send people back to countries that will not take them. You can't push them back to France. Okay. So we have been working hard with France and with Germany
but the point on that now, Nina, is that there's clearly something that's gone wrong behind the scenes because the deadline...
No.
Well, yes.
No.
Because the deadline to start sending people back has passed. You would have thought...
Yvette Cooper said some weeks ago, she said it will take some weeks for them to start processing.
Because the French have the capacity to reject whoever we say that we want to send back.
Well, let's just see. I think so. And you're talking about only 50 a week. 2 months of 50 a week, and you've got Rwanda. 400 hotel places. After those 400 hotel places were filled, what do you do then, Sam?
Well, I think the difference is Rwanda was obviously not a European country, so people who were fleeing into France or the rest of Europe hoping to get to the UK, who then get sent to Rwanda, that's a very different prospect to being sent back to France.
It was our own High Court that deemed that Rwanda was not a safe country to go
to. I have been to Rwanda. I went to Rwanda with the former Home Secretary Priti Patel, and
I wouldn't get in a lift with that woman. Never mind an aeroplane.
A certain racist element. And James Cleverly, the former Foreign Secretary, has said this himself, that actually the left's approach to Rwanda has a certain racist whiff about it.
No, there's no
for anybody to go.
No.
It's like
they themselves admit that they're human. They themselves admit that human rights is a work in progress. There. What about all the?
It's a country that has recovered.
What about the war on its borders with the Democratic Republic of Congo?
That was 30 years ago. And
I'm not talking about the genocide. I'm talking about activists who have been disappeared.
Actively seeking young men to repopulate this country.
How big a problem is it for Sir Keir Starmer? Let's say that the French government collapses, which all the noises suggest that I think it possibly is going to. So we don't end up with that deal for the French to have to do anything in the water. And then it turns out in a week or so's time, when more people start to pick up on the fact that where are these deportation flights, that the French have decided to reject people. How bad is this for Keir Starmer?
It's terrible. I mean, with France are in an absolute chaos at the moment. Got a 43 billion deficit they need to fill. The fact of the matter is there was no deportation agreement. There was a repatriation agreement separate to the withdrawal agreement on the table. Matthew Pennycook voted to delay it under the Benn Act, and then under the Letwin Act, the Lib Dems and Labour voted that down too. They got rid of all the leverage under Brexit. So the Labour Party and anyone else cannot say, oh, we just inherited this from the Tories, because they were the ones that took all the leverage away away from those Brexit negotiations. And if anyone can disagree with that, I don't swear. You've got Matthew Pennicott coming out here saying all stuff are going to end up like Belarus. I mean, this guy's actually responsible for the Shadow Brexit Secretary, for kibosh.
On the other hand, it's only Russia and Belarus who have withdrawn from the ECHR.
Australia, Canada, what about these places?
I mean, most of the rest
We're
of the world
talking about
managed to
ECH. We're talking about Europe. We're not talking about the rest of the world.
Most of the rest of the world managed
But also
to
there's
cope
the
without
International Refugee Committee.
OK. All right.
It's a disaster, though. That's
all right. Well, there we go. I mean, look, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll surprise us all. And one of these flights will take off to France next week. I would have thought if you're going to make such a big song and dance over it, you get those flights off the ground immediately. And the rhetoric has changed now. They're still saying it's the coming weeks. Anyway, the Home Office said, we have already detained the first group of people to cross the Channel after their arrival at Western Jet Foil. And they are being held in detention until they can be returned to France. At that point, the en route scheme to the UK will also accept its first applications. Officials are currently going through applicants and have communicated with all those who have applied within 24 hours of receiving the application. I will leave it to you to pick the bones out of that. Now, your bills are about to go up again, despite the fact that you were told that they weren't. But before we get to that, we thought, look, in light of all of this ongoing economic mayhem, you can rely on GB News to help you out. It's the Great British Giveaway. It's the final week to see how you could live next year, mortgage or rent-free, additional £5 in your bank account as well. And if you don't have any of those payments, we'll give you 15 grand instead. Here's how.
There's just 2 days left to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. Hurry, lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 922. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you, but next...
Oh, God, is that a Miliband? Where are you going?
I'm off to set up GB Energy. See you later. Bye.
It's just pathetic, isn't it? Anyway, your energy bills are still rising, and it turns out that one of the reasons why they've risen is to pay for renewable energy as well. Stay tuned.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Igniting that debate over controversial monuments in our public spaces.
Well, joining us now is historian and broadcaster Rafe Hadelman-Ku. Rafe, what do you make of this?
Well, the woke Taliban are back again. I thought we had seen the last of them after their insane conduct, after the Black Lives Matter madness. But I'm afraid this is par for the course. You know, Baroness de Debonair is a poster child for this nihilistic, this destructive self-loathing that's sweeping the nation right now. And of course, she's symbolic too of the left's long march through the institutions. Here we have again a failed politician and woke ideologue who's now untouchable in the House of Lords and can preach this sort of anti-British ideology free from any consequences. Clive of India has been unfairly attacked and maligned in the past for a very long time. That doesn't mean he was perfect, and I'm not here to defend the excesses of the East India Company, far from that. But we as a society, why is it that we as a society are no longer mature enough to understand that no person, no hero of ours is as pure as the driven snow? And if we erase people from the past, we are also erasing huge sections of our past too. You know, this is a war on our history. When we walk through the streets, when we walk through the public square, we see monuments to the people who made Britain what it is today. Some of that, most of that will be good. Some of that will be bad, but most of it will be good and sometimes also controversial at the same time. And it's just, you know, this PC desire to delete our past, you know, it's immature, it's undemocratic, and it's Philistine. And why stop at Clive's statue? You know, where did it end?
That's the point. Why stop at that statue?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
All right, welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Do you remember when Energy Secretary Ed Miliband promised this?
Only Labour offers a plan for real change to cut energy bills for good with GB Energy, our new publicly owned energy company.
Cut bills, he said. Well, today we found out that bills are actually going up again. Ofgem, the energy regulator, has hiked its energy price cap, meaning the average household will now fork out £1,755 a year, which is an extra 35 quid straight out of your pocket this winter. So what's behind it? Well, Ed Miliband wants you to think it's all Russia's fault. In fact, he tweeted this today. Wholesale gas prices remain 75% above their levels before Ukraine was invaded. I regret to inform Ed Miliband, to keep that on the screen. In the last few moments, I've just seen he's been community noted, fact-checked in real time on X. Figures provided by Ofgem show that the wholesale gas price in the UK is now actually below the level it was prior to Russia invading Ukraine in February 2022. So, I mean, some people might call that a lie, Ed, but anyway. But this isn't the first time he's just used Moscow as a convenient scapegoat.
The only way we can have the energy security that British people deserve is by getting off fossil fuels that are controlled by petrostates and dictators.
Yeah, in fact, it's not even the second time.
It's a direct result of our country's exposure to international gas markets that are controlled by dictators.
What he doesn't say is this. We've shelled out an eye-watering 815 million quid just to switch off wind farms. We're paying not to use green energy. Net zero policies are costing you. Look at this graph. Compared to the United States, which only has some climate policies, the cost of energy is almost 3 times lower than it is here in the UK. So is Ed Miliband's obsession with net zero actually driving up your cost of living? Well, I'm very pleased to be joined now by the campaign director at Net Zero Watch. It's Maurice Cousins. Thank you very much. All right,
Pleasure to be here.
Could Ed Miliband lie straight in bed, do you think?
I'd very much doubt so. Very much doubt so. He, I mean, what we've seen there is he's guilty of sort of promoting what I call sort of net zero disinformation. He's often very fond of sort of saying that his opponents are sort of misinforming and disinforming the public, but as we can sort of see here today, he's been promoting specious arguments about what's driving up the energy costs, whereas actually we've got a cost of Miliband crisis. That's what I mean.
Right. OK. So why are our bills going up?
So, I mean, today we've been sort of told that the proximate cause as to why it's going up are what they call sort of balancing costs, and a part of that is sort of the curtailment fees that are sort of paid to sort of switch off some of the wind farms. But actually, if you sort of zoom out and take a sort of a helicopter view of what actually is sort of causing it, if you take, for example, an average energy bill from, say, 2015 and compare it to today, Ofgem sort of said that actually the sort of production costs of producing energy are actually exactly the same. What actually has been driving up our energy bills over a number of years now, and is the main bulk of what is doing it today, is what are called sort of policy costs. So that's things that are sort of like levies and sort of subsidies for green energy. So about today, if you compare an average energy bill with what it was in about April 2015, In April 2015, it was roughly about sort of 600 quid. Today, it's about £900 for the electricity component, and so we're paying about £300 more, and it's about sort of £197 of that is for sort of what are called policy costs.
Now, for some people watching and listening to this, you know, that thing there was an extra 35 quid a year. You might be thinking, well, that's not much. That's like 2.5 packets of Marlboro Golds, isn't it? But there is a bigger point out there, because for some people, you add that up over the course of a year and you add the other increases that we've had and you add the other cost of living increases that we've had as well, even things like butter or whatever else. Yeah. And it's actually the price of their annual holiday. It is for some people. So it does add up. And would it be cheaper for all of us if we just drilled for our own resources more?
Emphatically, yes, of course that would be the case. And I think you make a very fundamental point here. It's like energy is a factor of production. It is the basis of our economy, right? And when that goes up, everything goes up. So, you know, yes, it's not just your utility bill that goes up, but it's also your shopping bill that goes up. People don't, you know, when you think about a food supply chain, you know, you've got things like fertilizer, you've got the farmer has to have like diesel on for his tractors, he'll have to have electricity, there are cold supply chains, you know, the whole sort of supply chain relies on energy. So it has a multiplier effect, and that eats into people's disposable income. So effectively, it is a tax. But, you know, you hit on a really fundamental point here. You know, the fact is that for the UK, really, when it comes down to, like, what is actually the main problems that we're facing here, we're just not producing enough of our own energy. That's really what it comes down to. And for more than 2 decades now, we've seen sort of production sort of go in decline, and but demand obviously has sort of been rising. The population, immigration, obviously that's sort of a factor, and you know we're obviously now we're now using more. We've got, you know, in recent years things like AI, etc., etc. So this is consuming huge amounts of sort of energy. So it's really a question of sort of supply and demand, and we need to be filling that gap. Yeah. And you're right, but we've been doing everything we possibly can to constrain that. We've got a tax regime now that is deterring investment into North Sea oil and gas. Yep. And criminally, we have banned onshore shale gas fracking.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to have to go pulp at some point. And if what you say is true, no reason to disbelieve it, this is a policy decision that's making us all poorer, as opposed to a resources issue, you know, then that's within our own hands, and it cannot go on like this. Thank you very much.
No,
always a
pleasure.
pleasure. I really appreciate you coming in to us. Maurice Cousins there, who was the campaign director at Net Zero Watch. Hey, look, we reached out to Ed Miliband. We didn't hear anything back. I'm sure that he says he's doing a fantastic job and he's a really nice guy. Coming up, this journalist has made a complete wally of himself.
Egotistical and bombastic do you think you are?
You make your own mind up. You can say whatever you like. And do you know what? I couldn't care less.
Got all your front pages in a sec. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Northern parts of Europe are set to see widespread heavy showers. This could lead to some severe thunderstorms at times. But across Spain, Portugal, the Azores, the sunshine is here to stay. But it's really across parts of France, Germany, as we head towards Switzerland and Austria. Northern parts of Italy, we could see these quite intense showers. So thunderstorms, frequent lightning and also some large hail. But elsewhere across the Adriatic coastline, across parts of Greece, the sunshine once again here to stay, along with the warm temperatures.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, it should be a mostly dry and bright start across eastern areas, but eventually turning more and more unsettled from the west, and temperatures returning to average for all. And it's all due to low pressure situated to the northwest of the country, dragging in frontal systems, so more cloud, some outbreaks of rain, and this mostly across western areas where it will eventually turn more unsettled. Clouds starting to spill into Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland and eventually parts of England and Wales. But across central areas of England, parts of the southeast, any showers easing away, and it should be mostly dry, clear and cool night, a lot fresher than recent nights, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. So a cloudy, showery start across western areas, and eventually we'll see more of this cloud spill its way eastwards, particularly across Scotland. Some showers moving through into western coast. These may start to turn heavy as we head our way through the morning, possibly even thundery, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland. A very cloudy start, if not longer, persistent outbreaks of rain across western areas, and similar across Wales, parts of Devon and Cornwall, some showers moving through here. But across the Midlands, central parts of England, parts of the southeast, dry and bright, but once again we'll eventually see that cloud start to spill its way in from the west. Longer spells of more persistent rain starting to push into Northern Ireland, and it will start to turn quite gusty, particularly around coastal areas, or if you catch any heavy, possibly thundery downpours, we could see some quite strong gusts associated with this. And it is going to feel like a much cooler day, highs reaching around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius across the southeast. To finish off the week, I'm afraid it is remaining unsettled. Further showers, particularly across Scotland, and also some longer spells of rain across parts of the south and southeast. This too turning heavy and possibly thundery. Most areas of England and Wales are going to catch a shower or two by the end of the week. And that theme is continuing into the weekend, with temperatures once again remaining around average for the time of year. Bye-bye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, welcome back to Patrick Christys. Now, I'm just going to give you one front page for the moment, and it's The Sun, and it's a big one. Keep Jihadi Ringo out of the UK. This is one of the ISIS so-called Beatles. You might remember them from when ISIS were in their pomp. He's a terrorist who was part of an ISIS beheading gang, and he wants to return to the UK. We are going to give you a bit more info on that in a second. The reason why I'm not giving you the other newspapers now is because there's been a huge story that's coming out of America. It's been the big breaking news of the last few hours, sadly, which is the tragic news of a shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. It's killed 2 children, aged 8 and 10. The FBI is teaching it as a potential act of terrorism and a hate crime against Catholics. And the gunman, the detail on this, has emerged as Robert Westman, who changed their name to Robin Westman. They are transgender, at least identify as being transgender, and appears to have slaughtered children whilst they were praying. 17 others injured, 14 children. Desperately awful situation. Joining us now is the mother of Sandy Hook shooting victim, Scarlett Lewis. Thank you for joining us. I'm very sorry that it's under these circumstances, of course. What goes through your head when you hear stories like this?
It's very difficult because I know exactly what those parents are going through. I know, and you think about the victims and their parents, but really this ripples out and it impacts obviously everyone in the school, in the community, and then ripples out to the United States and the world. We're talking about it here in the UK. So it's a very sad day here in America.
What do you want done about this? We have it here in Britain. I've already seen a little snippet of some of the commentary over there from various people in positions of authority, you know, saying the usual things, whether it's, you know, oh, don't look back in anger, or thoughts and prayers, or you know, let's not walk around with hate in our heart, and all of that stuff. You know, as the mother of a victim of an incident similar-ish to this, what do you actually want done about this stuff?
Well, let's see. Sandy Hook Elementary School, that school shooting where my 6-year-old son, Jesse Lewis, was murdered alongside 19 of his first grade classmates and 6 educators in what is still the worst mass shooting in an elementary school in the U.S. I realized as the mom of a child going to school that what happened that day was 100% preventable. And so the fact that this continues to go on 12 years later, and as you said, and I totally agree with you, Patrick, the same messaging afterwards, the same people coming out and asking for money for different, anti-movements. It's getting really old for people to think that our leadership is going to do something about this. I mean, I think right now it's time for us to take personal responsibility for what happens to our kids and their safety, because we can keep our kids safe. I mean, I think about how we keep our money safe in banks, and the kids are far more precious than money, and it's possible to keep them safe.
Well, where are you then on, we have issues with knife crime over here, as I'm sure you're aware. We have a very, very different situation when it comes to guns than the United States. So there's a big point of difference between our countries there. But where are you on this gun debate then? Because I think for a lot of people, I'm all for civil liberties, don't get me wrong, and I can see if I had been born in America, maybe I would have been relatively pro-gun ownership. I don't know. But how do you feel about that?
Well, I saw 12 years ago so many people that were coming out anti-gun in the debate. I'm all for laws that protect us, but I have to say that hasn't worked out well at all for us. I don't see any progress in that front. It hadn't worked for my son 12 years ago, so I decided to do something different. I actually decided to address the root cause of the pain that escalates into not only violence, but substance abuse and mental illness as well. I really think that we've taken away a lot of the supports that our children had decades ago. Faith is a very big one. It's important to believe in something bigger than yourself. We stopped teaching about character and social emotional intelligence, and we focus more on grades and test scores. And here we are, and it's taken a while to get us here, and I think it's going to take a while to get us back. But what I am doing at the Choose Love movement is teaching kids how to handle pain, teaching them that pain has a purpose. It's there to help us grow. It's a concept called post-traumatic growth. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but it's really important because you see that pain is taking these kids down, and they're taking down others with them. And if we can give them the skills and tools, and by the way, they're learned. Hate has to be learned. You can learn about love too, and connection and belonging. It's just a choice. Choice is our superpower as human beings. And so I really think that that's what I've been doing over the past 12 years.
Well, Scarlett, look, thank you very much. I would love to maybe do a slightly longer form interview with you at some point in the future on this kind of issue, because sadly, it doesn't seem to be going away, as you've rightly identified there. But Scarlett, all the very best. Really appreciate you coming on, and I do wish you and your family all the best. So Scarlett Lewis there is the mother of one of the Sandy Hook shooting victims. Right, coming up, we will do all of the front pages. The Telegraph, they've got weight loss jabs being polled, apparently, as the price surge. The Eye, there's new Brexit energy tax. It's all going off, but the Sun's the big one. There's a jihadi beetle, and he wants to come back to Britain. Stay tuned.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
working class pupils being left behind, being written off?
Well, as one of those white working class boys when I was younger, many moons ago, I would have to agree with her. I think it's definitely something that for years has been very obvious in the data, and it hasn't been addressed, and the gap has not been yet bridged. So I can't disagree with her, although I don't fully agree with her approach or lack of what that approach is at the moment.
Well, yeah, should there be special programmes for white working class kids? I mean, you do see a lot of special programmes for ethnic minority kids, for girls too.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't about identity politics. This is really about a disadvantaged group of people in our society. If we fail them, we fail everyone else, we fail Britain. I think we can't ignore white working class pupils just because they're white. They're disadvantaged. If they're disadvantaged, like any other disadvantaged group we've looked at, we've raised the bar with any other group. We've made sure that we've invested the right systems and processes in place, and we've seen the impact of that. Just look at London, where I've worked for the last 15 years or so. London has proven a blueprint where we can do this with disadvantaged students. So we need to roll that out to other places in the coastal towns, in the post-industrial towns in the UK.
Now, what did London do differently? Obviously, the London Challenge, there was a heap of money.
Funding, I don't think, is the main problem. If you think about the national funding formula, London turned around itself with the same national funding formula as other parts of the UK. It was the leadership, it was the expectations, the teaching quality that made the difference. And if you are going to put money anywhere, it should really probably go in attracting the best teachers into those places.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Let's give you those front pages. The Sun, keep Jihadi Ringo out of the UK. He's an ISIS beetle, he wants to come back. The Metro, from hero to Kirlo. Only 20% would vote for the Prime Minister's party a year after the election win. Reform's got an 8-point lead. The Guardian, 1/3 of wounded in Gaza are children. Then we've got the Daily Mirror, flip-flop Farage. They say that Nigel's backtracked on his claim that he would deport essentially all women and children and said that it wouldn't be all women and children. The Daily Mail, wind farms hike your energy bill. We covered that a little bit earlier on. They've also got face of the trans US shooter who killed children as they prayed in church. It's a huge story, that, with so many knock-on consequences, and we'll cover that later on. The Daily Telegraph, weight loss jabs have been pulled ahead of the price surge. Apparently there's been pauses of these treatments. We'll get into the exact details why a little bit later on. And let's go to the Times. Reeves eyes tax raids on landlords to raise £2 billion. Have you dared to work hard and buy a property and let it out to someone and pay for the maintenance of that? If you have, you are in some way evil, apparently. The Eye, new Brexit energy tax set to hit UK on the 1st of January. It's a blow to Reeves's trade hopes. Let's do the Sun quickly, because we've not got long here. Jihadi Beetle wants to come back home. Should we let him?
No, I mean, he's been stripped of his citizenship under the last government. Robert Jenrick, his shadow Justice Secretary, says that was for a reason. The reason was so he could not be let back into this country. He was born in Sudan, although he did grow up in the UK. It's no wonder he wants to come back. He's being kept in a supermax prison. You know,
there's talk of some kind of swap deal, prisoner swap deal. I just don't think we need this jihadi, do we, Chris?
No, I mean, we want to keep these people out. They don't want to be radicalising people in our prisons. The bottom line is he was stripped of his citizenship. I think that was the Immigration Act 2014. And, you know, Shamima Begum was stripped of her citizenship. We had Labour and the Lib Dems, you know, upset about that. I think it's the right thing that's been done to strip them of it. I think the US, I think in January, Gorka had said that we've got to do some, you know, prisoner swaps if we're required, but we don't in this case.
Quickly, Nina, what would you have him back?
No, I don't think so. But on the other hand, I don't think you can strip citizens
of their citizenship. If you're born here, they're still your problem.
Well, apparently, I take your point for the most part.
Yeah.
Apparently, this guy was actually born in Sudan, which is quite handy actually when it comes to that as well. So that's quite good. Right, look, there's a lot more to come. We're going to go into a lot of detail on all those papers in the next hour for Late Edition. We'll be talking about. It's going to be a big headache for the Attorney General. This, if it falls on his desk to allow this jihadi beetle back, how could he live with himself if he does? There's another development, serious development about your taxes on the front pages, and of course the very latest from that devastating school shooting in America. Stay tuned.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, it should be a mostly dry and bright start across eastern areas, but eventually turning more and more unsettled from the west, and temperatures returning to average for all. And it's all due to low pressure situated to the northwest of the country, dragging in frontal systems, so more cloud, some outbreaks of rain, and this mostly across western areas, where it will eventually turn more unsettled, clouds starting to spill into Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, and eventually parts of England and Wales. But across central areas of England, parts of the southeast, any showers easing away, and it should be mostly dry, clear and cool night, a lot fresher than recent nights, lows reaching around 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. So a cloudy, showery start across western areas, and eventually we'll see more of this cloud spill its way eastwards, particularly across Scotland. Some showers moving through into western coast. These may start to turn heavy as we head our way through the morning, possibly even thundery, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland. A very cloudy start, if not longer, persistent outbreaks of rain across western areas, and similar across Wales, parts of Devon and Cornwall, some showers moving through here. But across the Midlands, central parts of England, parts of the southeast, dry and bright, but once again we'll eventually see that cloud start to spill its way in from the west. Longer spells of more persistent rain starting to push into Northern Ireland, and it will start to turn quite gusty, particularly around coastal areas, or if you catch any